A 21-year-old just ran 9.78 seconds in the 100 meters. Not at the Olympics, not at nationals, not even at a major championship. He ran it at a regional meet in Texas, the kind of competition where college scouts usually don't even show up. A kid nobody was talking about. A kid with no major sponsorship, no Nike contract, no coaching staff flown in from Europe. Just Christian Miller running a time that puts him in the fastest 50 sprinters on the planet right now. When Tyson Gay, the man who's run 9.69, who's been the face of American sprinting for nearly a decade, heard that time, he posted something on Instagram that caught everyone off guard. We will get to that, but first, you need to understand just how impossible this story actually is. Because 9.78 doesn't just mean fast, it means if Christian Miller had run that same time at the Paris Olympics final last year, he would have finished third, ahead of the defending champion. That's not hyperbole, that's the math. And Christian Miller did it without ever being recruited by a single Division I program in America. This is the story of how a kid from the wrong part of Texas became the man nobody saw coming. You grow up in Marlin, Texas. Not Austin, not Dallas, Marlin. Population around 6,200. No major track programs, no Nike track clubs, no subsidized training facilities. What Marlin has is heat, humidity, and a high school football field that most programs would laugh at. The kind of place where if you want to be a sprinter, you don't wake up dreaming about it, you stumble into it by accident because you were good at football first. Christian was exactly that kid. Running football routes as a freshman, showing the kind of explosive first step that made coaches in the stands lean forward. But something happened his sophomore year. He ran a 100 meters for the first time in a real competition. Time, 10.8 seconds. Nothing special, nothing that made anyone think, this is a future Olympian. Just another fast kid in Texas, a state that produces fast kids the way California produces surfers. But here's what made him different. He didn't just keep running. He started asking questions. Why am I faster than guys with fancy coaching? Why are these recruits with all the resources running slower? And most importantly, what happens if I actually take this seriously? His first real answer came his junior year. Scouts came to Marlin High School, not for Christian. They were there for his teammate, a kid named James, who had the pedigree. Private training, strength coach, the whole operation. James got offers, full rides, from Texas Tech, from Baylor, from every major program in the Big 12. Christian ran even faster that season. No offers. By the end of junior year, he was down to 10.4 seconds. Competitive at a state level, nowhere near fast enough for D1 in the eyes of the major programs. Texas didn't call. Oklahoma didn't call. SMU didn't call. The message from every single one of those programs was clear. You are not good enough for us. What made it worse was knowing exactly why. Not because he wasn't talented, he was, but because he came from Marlin, from a small school with no track tradition, no name recognition, no alumni network pumping money into the athletic department. You couldn't put his name on a bill, L-board. His story wasn't interesting yet. He was just a kid with raw speed in a state full of raw speed. And then comes the part that almost nobody knows. His senior year, Christian's family couldn't afford to send him to any of the elite summer track camps, the ones that cost $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $4,000, the ones where D1 coaches actually show up looking to be impressed. His parents both worked, his father in manufacturing, his mother in retail. Neither made enough to gamble on a maybe. So Christian did something most 17-year-olds wouldn't consider. He started training by himself. Not with a coach, not with a team, just him. YouTube videos of Usain Bolt breaking down technique and a willingness to fail publicly every single day at his local track. He created his own program based on stuff he'd learned from the internet, sprint work, strength sessions in the weight room before school, technique drills after practice. His high school coach told him he was wasting his time. That detail right there is the whole story. Because what Christian was actually doing was building something most elite sprinters never have to build. A complete belief in himself that had nothing to do with validation. He wasn't waiting for a coach to tell him he was good. He wasn't waiting for a program to believe in him. He was deciding right there, at 17 years old, that he was going to become great whether the system wanted to help him or not. But here's what I need to know. Drop it in the comments right now. If you were in Christian's position, knowing every major program had said no, would you keep going? Or would you accept the rejection and move on to college to play it safe? I genuinely need to know. Because by his senior nationals, Christian ran a 10.09. That was his first time breaking 10.1 seconds in an official race. At the time, it felt massive. It got him recruited to Texas Southern, a Division I program, but not a major one, not the Texas, not the Oklahomas, a real school with real standards, but one that didn't have the resources of the blue blood programs. 10.09. That was then. That was his ceiling at 18 years old. 2 years later, at the same nationals event, he ran 9.97. He'd gone from 10.09 to just under 10 seconds. The improvement was real, noticeable, the kind of jump that gets a few more eyes on your name. College teammates knew he was serious. His coaches at Texas Southern were paying attention. But 9.97 is still not 9.78. Then comes the part that changes everything. If Christian Miller had run that same 9.78 time in the Paris Olympics final, right now, against the absolute best sprinters alive, he would have finished third. Not fifth, not fourth, third, behind Kashane Thompson and Noah Lyles, ahead of the reigning world champion Marvin Harrison Jr. Think about what that means. Not at a regional meet. Not at an invitational where the competition is mixed. We're talking about the 5 fastest sprinters on earth, all in one race. And Christian Miller finishes on the medal stand. 9.78. Christian Miller is now the fastest sprinter ever to come out of Marlin, Texas. That's not just regional pride language, that's literal fact. Nobody from his town has ever run at his level. Nobody from Texas Southern. Nobody who trained alone on YouTube. Nobody who was rejected by every major program in America. But there's something bigger here. At 21 years old, running 9.78, Christian Miller is the youngest American in this decade to break into the genuine Olympic conversation at the 100 meters. Not might medal, might compete. He's moved past might compete. He's now in the conversation for the actual podium at LA 2028. That is not a small fact. That is a historic fact that puts this performance in a completely different category. This isn't a kid with a good time. This is proof that the system still misses talent, still overlooks it, still says no to kids from towns like Marlin. What did Christian do after he ran 9.78? Not a speech to his doubters, not a post about vindication, not a list of the programs that said no. He called his mother in the stands, walked over to the side of the track, and the two of them just stood there together for a minute. No phone cameras, no social media post, just a moment where his mum got to see what happens when you believe in yourself harder than anyone believes in you. That's the part Tyson Gay was reacting to. That's why he wrote what he wrote. This is the future. This is what happens when you choose yourself. Los Angeles 2028 is 2 years and 7 months away. Christian Miller will be 23 years old. He'll be running in front of his home crowd in America. He'll be the youngest American sprinter with a legitimate shot at the podium. And the question right now isn't whether he can medal. The question is, what does his time look like when the pressure is actually on? Does he run under 9.75 in the LA Olympics final on American soil? Drop it below. And subscribe for the story of Kashane Thompson, the man who beat Christian, and how a Jamaican sprinter became the fastest human alive at just 24 years old.